Welcome everyone to Tell Me That. My name is Paul, and in this podcast I interview my dad to find out about his interesting, funny and enlightening life stories. So if you're interested in learning from my dad, then stay tuned.
Hi Paul, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity again to talk a little bit about my life in the United States today.
You're welcome.
And last time I gave you a little overview about my first experience in the USA with my boss, with the company, with the customers. But that was kind of a general overview from a business point of view. Today I want to get a little bit more personal, let's say how we got going in the USA as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And this was easier than I thought, because here in Germany, as you know, bureaucracy, everything very complicated.
It's horrible.
If you have to make an application for something, you have to file first an application for the application.
Of course, yeah.
So this is so difficult sometimes. So United States, as you know, I had a house, beautiful house, that my boss bought. Today, I want to talk about some things that you need for life and how to get them, like driver license, a telephone, gas, electricity, and so on. Let's start with driver license. That was kind of easy, And I went to the office where you can get your driver license, and talked to a very charming lady, and she also had former relatives from Germany.
Which is good.
Well,
yeah. Makes it easier.
Apparently, a lot of Americans.
Apparently, everyone,
have like grandpa or grandma or something from Germany. It actually gave me a very good feeling. There was not a single day in the United States that I didn't feel welcome. It was just great. So she said, let's get started. Here is a questionnaire, about 24 questions. Fill that out, please. And when you are done with it, then we're going to make the practical test, We're going to make
on the same day?
The same day.
Okay.
Same hour.
Yeah, that's
hour,
crazy. Compared to Germany, it's crazy.
In Germany, it takes like 3-4 months or even more.
Yeah. But was that because you already had the German or European driver license?
Well, I had a German driver license. License, which she barely looked at.
Okay.
For her, it was important that I filled out the questionnaire, that that she made a photograph, and that I gave her all my personal data, that I had a credit card, of course. An ID, or some kind of an ID, and that I knew how to drive a car.
Mm-hmm.
So after the formalities were done, I got into this, I don't know what it was, I think it was a Ford or whatever, I drove her around the block, and she was very pleased with that, and we got into the office, and it took her like 15-20 minutes, and she came back, and he gave me my driver license. I still have it. You have seen it.
Yeah.
It is.
You look quite a bit different there.
I
Longer
know.
hair.
Today I look better. I know.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So she gave me my driver license, and she explained that it's not just a driver license; it's also an identification card. So it's take care of it, don't lose it, and so on. So I paid like $20, and I was in business. You see, with my German driver license, I was allowed to use that only for 90 days in the United States, and after that it was over. It was done. So I got that driver license, and which was very easy to get. The second thing was, for my house, a telephone. I mean, at that time, early 80s, late 70s, to get a telephone, a connection in Germany was kind of difficult. A very special technician had to come out. He had to install it, I don't know. Then you had to buy a phone, and someone had to install the telephone, and a special box to connect the telephone to, and so on. It was so complicated, And so I went to, I think it was Michigan Bell office, and I went in there, again, very friendly people, I told him that I need a telephone and that I just bought a house, and they said, it's not a problem, sir. I gave him all the data that they needed, and so they put it on paper. They had a file. They put a file there, and she said, here we have 3 different phones. You can select 1, 2, or 3 different prices. This is the most comfortable one. And so I picked, of course, the nicest one. It was not as bulky, as big as the cheapest one. So I got that one, and she said, well, this is your phone number. She gave me a piece of paper with my data and the phone number. And she said, you can go home now and plug it in. And, well, I had noticed already that in my house, in every room, there was an outlet for to connect the telephone, So I said, well, but when will I be able to use the telephone? And she said, well, today. So I went home. I connected the phone to one of the outlets, and I was in business, So it took another hour to get a telephone,
Crazy.
So it was really, really easy, and the same thing was it with the gas and electricity, to get that in connected, and it just took a phone call, and that was it. And I must say, in Germany, it would have taken me like weeks to get going. In the United States, everything was done within one day.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And again, it was a totally different life. Here in Germany, for instance, going shopping, Here in Germany, you go shopping, and sometimes I had the feeling in Germany you had to take a baseball bat along, to fight your way through the supermarket, and everybody wants to be first, and at the counter where you buy the meat, people don't stand in line or queue up, they are just standing there, and everybody wants to be first, In the States, you go into a supermarket, and you feel like being in paradise. Beautiful music in the background. And at the supermarket, it's not overloaded. It's a very nice atmosphere. The products are presented very nicely, all high quality stuff. And the first very funny experience was that when we went shopping for the first time at Kroger's was the name of that supermarket. It was like a 24/7 supermarket. And when we went to the cashier, and all the items, they were kind of collecting behind the cashier, and 2 high school kids were putting them into paper bags, And at that time I was still married to my ex-wife, and she started fighting with these kids, She said, "Man, leave your hands away from my products. Yeah, I'm gonna pack them myself, like you do it in Germany.
Yeah.
And I told her, please just keep quiet. These guys, they just want to help you, And it was a completely new experience. The same when you go to a shopping center. And at that time, I've never been in a shopping center before, And the first shopping center I went to was close to Detroit City. I think the name was 12 Oaks. Yeah, 12 Oaks Shopping Center. And it was like a 3-4 story shopping center, huge shopping center with 4 big department stores, like a Hudson, a Sears, a Penny's, 4 department stores on the corners. In between, you had all these walkways with these beautiful shops, and to go shopping, it was kind of entertainment, And when you enter shopping center, at that time, someone was there, opened the door, and he said, "Hey, welcome to our shopping center. How are you today, sir?" And I thought, how are you today, sir? Yeah. I don't even know the guy, and he wants to know how I am. So it was, again, a new experience until I found out it is kind of we just like to have you here, It's so, and when you enter these shopping centers, it's just beautiful. It's pure entertainment, but you shouldn't underestimate the situation. People that have designed these shopping centers and the people that are running the shopping centers, they know how to put you in the right buying mood.
Of course.
When you go into one department to buy, let's say, 1 shirt, you probably end up buying 3 or 4 shirts.
Of course.
So, my favorite department always was at Sears. It's one of the big department stores. At Sears, they had in the basement, they had the tool department.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Hand tools and all kind of tools. And my favorite brand was Craftsman, Craftsman tools. Quality tools, great, and the best tools you can think of at less than half the price than in Germany.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just great. The only problem was most of the tools were in inches.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And in Germany we had metric.
Yeah, of course.
So there was a difference. Anyway, it was really easy to get going in the United States, to find your way around, to learn how to get things, to do shopping, to get your phone and electricity and all that. So you can say within 1 to 2 weeks, you were all set, and you felt so well and comfortable, and that was just great. And regarding the house, I made a very nice experience. I told you that I bought this ranch house at a beautiful street, at Lilac Street. It was like an alley, big trees on both sides of the street, with these walkways and then a piece of lawn in front of every house. Very typical American suburb.
Mm-hmm.
And the house was standing there for like 6 months without being used, So the former owners, they moved out and they just left the house the way it was for six months, And but it took me like 2-3 weeks, to get all the landscaping and that done. And after like 2-3 weeks, the house looked real nice, And then I decided, well, at that time, I didn't really have a big contact to my neighbors, And the only part of the house that needed to be kind of upgraded was the kitchen. It was a nice kitchen, but kind of run down, but it was made of modular cabinets, you can buy in any, Home Depot. So I went out, I took the measurements, I went out and I bought new kitchen cabinets, and I had them delivered at a special date to my new home, to my new house. And the day before, I took the old stuff out. It was so easy, just 2 hooks, and you take it off, and that was it. So the old cabinets were out, were standing in front of the house, ready to be picked up. And the new cabinets came in. They were delivered, and I took them into the house. And I didn't really have all the tools, I was kind of lost, all by myself, and now I had to install that kitchen, and I was actually sitting in my living room, and I was trying to kind of make a plan, how to get going, and how to install that kitchen. And all of a sudden, someone knocked at my front door, and I opened the door, and there was a tall guy standing in front of the house. In his left hand, he had a toolbox. In his right hand, he had a 6-pack beer. Yeah. And a pipe in his mouth. Okay. So, at that time, I also was pipe smoker. Yeah. And so at first glance, I just liked the guy.
Of course.
He was actually the neighbor to the left side, Okay. His name was Walter. Walter was just 100% American, and so nice. And he could actually see the situation that I was in, me kind of lost, no tools, getting all these cabinets in, and so he said, well, young man, I thought you need some help, And I said, well, thank you very much. Come in. And so within a couple of hours, it was so quick-like. We got all these new cabinets installed. And we had a couple of beers. And Walter and I, we became real good friends. He was like 20 years older than me.
Okay.
And that my dad, your grandpa, he died very early, at the age of 49 years. So to have a person like that at my side, to talk to whenever I had an issue, a problem, something I like to talk to, like a dad, Yeah. So Walter was kind of my dad for 3 years, And his wife was also very special. She was French, Christiane de Paris. She had her own line of dresses, that she sold, and very, very special lady. He actually met her in Paris after World War II. He was with the forces in France when they. When the Allies got into France. So he met her, and they fell in love, and he took her back home to the United States. But he had to, he had to make a promise. And you see, she was actually from Versailles, and she asked him that when he retires, that they both will go back to Paris, buy an apartment, and retire in Paris. And believe it or not, he did that.
He did it.
He did it. I know that it was not really the retirement that he really was looking for,
Yeah,
because he had all his friends in the United States. He was a deer hunter, and you know, so all that stuff that he couldn't do here in Germany. I mean, imagine in Paris, you know, you buy a rifle, you get in a pickup truck, and you go out in the woods and start shooting deers. You know,
maybe not the best idea.
No, you better not.
Yeah.
So. But he was also a very proud person, you know, and he gave her his word of honor, and she called on that, you know. So they got back to Paris, and I met them in the late 90s again, when we had an exhibition in Paris. Walter came to see me at the booth, and also his wife, and we had a nice dinner afterwards, and we talked about the good old days. Of course, we all were a few years older, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's real nice people, you know, and the 3 years I spent with them as neighbors, I just don't want to miss them, you know. It was great. And on the right-hand side of my house, there was a young lady in her late 20s, driving a British sports car privately. From the professional point of view, she was driving a fully loaded police car, because she was a police officer, you know. Well, big gun on the side, you know, and but very, very charming, you know, and pretty, you know. But Walter on the left-hand side with his like 3, 4, 5 guns that he used for deer hunting, and Sandy on the right-hand side, a police officer. It was probably the safest.
Pretty safe,
safest,
I imagine. Yeah,
the safest house in Farmington. You know?
Yeah,
that was real nice. So. I spent like 2.5 years in that house, and then I moved from the house to a apartment that was on a golf course, actually, an apartment building, a big apartment building. It was on a golf course, but this is a story that I'm going to get into next time. Mm-hmm. I think last time I told you about the used car that I bought.
Yes,
you know,
you did.
I always called it a toilet on wheels.
Yeah.
You know, it was such a terrible car, you know. I mean, another feature that you find in the United States is that, I mean, people can afford a lot of luxury, you know. Not like here in Germany. I mean, or at that time in Germany, you know. In Germany, if a family had one car, you know, that was already like, they were great, you know. Mm-hmm. But in the States, you know, I mean,
I think it's more one car per person.
Well, it's almost one car per person, you know. It's incredible, you know. But you see, all this luxury is not for free, you know. You have to do something for it. And I noticed that a lot of people there had a second job or a third job, you know. So they were like a salesman in a shopping center during the day, and at night they were working in a supermarket or whatever, you know. So, and even people at kind of higher levels, you know, they had like a second job, you know. So. And the money they earned, they spent, you know. They bought another car, a second car, you know, and
so no saving, basically.
Well, saving. This is a word that you know in Germany.
Yeah, okay.
You put the money under your pillow, you know, and save it and rest on it, you know. And no. United States is making money, spending money, enjoy life, you know. And I like that very much, you know, because that makes economy going, and people enjoy life. And at that time, it was, again, the late 70s. at that time, Detroit City was totally different than it is today. You know, I mean, it was a booming city. The automobile industry was booming. People were making real good money, and I mean, today Detroit City is a dying city. You know, every year about 15,000 people are leaving the city. Can you imagine that? 15,000 people. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
It's basically half of the city that we currently live in.
Yes,
every year.
Yes, wow. Exactly. You know, it's unbelievable. You know, and today I wouldn't really call Detroit City a safe city. You know?
Okay.
I mean, it's so. I'm not really sure if I would move today to Detroit City.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Actually, that's funny because I talked with someone from my class from university, an American person, and I told that person, yeah, well, when my dad moved to America, he moved to Detroit. And the reaction immediately was, oh, Detroit. Well, that's an interesting place to be.
It is.
So, yeah, from today's point of view, of course, because that person is my age, of course.
Well, but at that time, again, it was a booming city. A lot of money has been invested in that city at that time. The automobile industry was booming. I mean, all the big car companies, you know, like Chrysler, General Motors, Ford, and their subdivisions, you know, like Dodge or Chevrolet and so on. They had these huge companies there, you know, pumping out these tens of thousands of cars every day, you know, unbelievable, you know. And it was really a, for me, kind of living on the fast lane. You know, I mean, it's amazing. So, but anyway, and I was thinking of, you know, I was working as a project manager for German machine tools and sales manager, but it was like an 8 to 5 job, you know, 8 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I met my good old friend Erwin. Erwin was from Stuttgart.
Okay.
And Erwin was an engineer. Before that, he was living already a couple of years in the United States, but then for some reason, well, he met the wrong lady, and he got frustrated, and he went back to Germany, and it took him like 6 months to realize that was not the right thing to do. So he came back to the United States. And Erwin was a very good engineer, and he opened his own company, an engineering company, and he was specialized in designing of painting systems. You see, at that time, a lot of companies, they switched from spraying technology to this, what is it called, this dumping, you know, they dumped the complete car body into like a big bass top, you know, and you put it in here, and on the back it comes out, and it's completely painted, you know. And so Erwin got a big order from General Motors, in fact from Chevrolet, to design a painting system for the new Corvette 1980. And he had the ideas, he had a great office, he had these big drawing boards, you know, at that time, no CAD systems, and
of course,
you know, I mean, you had to make drawings for every single part that had to be manufactured, you know, unbelievable, this big pack of drawings, you know, and so he was actually the brain of this whole thing, you know, and what he needed was people that make the drawings, you know. So he made the assembly drawings, the big drawings, you know, where you see all the parts. And now he needed people that make drawings of all these parts, you know. So since I was already like a year in the United States, and I knew the difference between German and American standards, you know, when it comes to drawings. He asked me, he said, well, why can't you help me out for a certain time at least, you know? like 5 days a week, you know.
Yeah, of course. 5 days a week, a certain time.
From 5 to 9.
Sure. Okay.
And I said, "Whoa, that is that's not that easy, you know, because I'm married, I got my wife here, and well, he said, well, think about the money, think about the money and what you can afford with the money, I mean, just looking out the window here and looking at that green. Well, I don't even want to call the car, this is, I mean, you deserve better, So
very convincing person, it seems.
He was, and we made an agreement that I went there like four times a week, and I helped him out, and it was just power playing. But I made good money, and then there was another guy, he was in Philadelphia, he was importing German machine tools. And he asked me if I could help him out on the weekend when he got a new German machine tool in, to unpack the machine, to put it together, to make a list what parts are missing and so on. And from Friday to Sunday night, and I got a package price for that, which was, whoa, So, but I mean, this was something that I discussed with my boss in Farmington. I said, well, on the weekend, but I mean, for him, it was not a problem. He said, well, a lot of people, they have a second or third job, and as long as your job here will not suffer, you can do that. I mean, you can do whatever you want, So I got his permission to do that. And so within about a year, 8 months to a year, I made some pretty good money, and
but still, you were working all the time.
Yes, right? I was working more or less around the
clock. How did you balance that with your wife at that time?
Well,
free time? You didn't have any free time, did you?
Well, I did not have much free time, but she had a lot of very nice clothes.
Yeah, okay.
And I mean, when she had a wish,
So she didn't work.
She didn't work.
Okay.
And she was actually also very connected to some other German ladies in Farmington. There was kind of a German community, and basically the ladies, they all had the same problem. The guys were working like crazy, and they were just burning the money. So anyway. It was not as difficult with her, but I could actually feel after a year that I had to slow down a little bit, because I was pushing too hard. Anyway, so after that 1 year, I had enough money to buy my first new car. Brand new car. I never bought one in Germany, a new one. I always had used cars as a young man, and so I went into this dealership, and I saw that beautiful blue Chevrolet Camaro. Oh, what a beautiful car, I tell you. So I went to that sales guy and I said, well, you can save all your words. You don't have to do a selling job. I want to buy that car. I said, how much is that car? And he said, well, it's about $260 a month. No, I said, how much is the car? Yeah, it's $260 a month. I said, no, I want to know the price of the car. Most of the people at that time that went into a dealership and they want to buy a car, they paid the car on a monthly basis, on monthly installments, and for him it was kind of a new experience that someone comes into the dealership, he points at a car and he says, I want this car, give me your best price, I pay cash, for him it was new experience. But I said there is one condition, you have to trade in this beautiful Chevrolet Vega that I bought exactly in this place here 12 months ago. And he said, oh boy, this is a very, very hard to sell car. You
Yeah.
know? I said, well, about 12 months ago, your colleague told me exactly the opposite. You know, he said, well, that's a beautiful car and the best deal you ever make, and so on. Anyway, so he traded the car in, and I got my brand new Chevy Camaro, beautiful car, I tell you. So when I drove out a dealership with that car, you know, I felt like a king, you know. It's just great, you know. So the following week, I drove from home with the car to my work, and we had a big parking lot in front of our main building. And then there was that one day when my dear colleague, James was also from Stuttgart. He was a marketing guy. And he was with us on a two-year basis, and he said, well, Willy, can you do me a favor? You know, I mean, on the weekend, my girlfriend from Germany is coming to the States here. And of course I want to impress her a little bit, and I have this old Delta 88, you know, this Oldsmobile Delta 88, you know, it's really a terrible car, you know, and it's not running very good and needs a tuner and so on. And could we switch cars for like 3-4 days? Then she's going back home to Germany. And I said, well, James, I mean, you are a dear friend, and well, I mean, for you, come on, we'll do. You get the car, and I get your beautiful Oldsmobile for the 3 days, and enjoy it and have fun with your girlfriend. But don't spoil the interior, you know. So I gave him the car keys in my office, and he was so happy, you know. So he went outside to the car, and about 20 minutes later, he came into the building again, and he put the keys on my desk, and he said, well, Willy, I got to tell you something, you know, I have a problem with your car. And I said, what is the problem? You have a problem with the engine, or is it not getting started, or? No, he said, I had a little accident, you know. I said, oh, well, it can probably be fixed, you know, we're not going to die for that, you know, and our friendship, it's not gonna get any harm, you know. So where is the car? He said, well, it is still on the parking lot outside. If you want to take a look, you know. So I went outside, and believe it or not, my brand new Chevy Camaro was sitting there, without any front fenders,
Oh my God.
without any hood, you know. The bumper was gone, you know. You could see the engine. It was just all the sheet metal and plastic work, you know, the body work was gone. I said, what the hell did you do with that car? And he said, well, there was this truck, this big truck that was coming down the highway here. I said, well, this is what trucks do, you know, coming down the highway. You know. And he said, well, yeah, and I was standing here at our parking lot trying to get out. And I said, well, James, I mean, the Camaro has quite a long hood, you know,
Yeah.
and could it be, just an assumption that you had the hood a little bit too far sticking out into the highway? Well, he said, maybe, but I didn't really have a lot of time to think, because all of a sudden there was that big bang and all these parts were flying around, you know, and so the truck actually didn't have any damage at all.
Yeah,
you know?
quite massive.
It was like a, what was it called, Mack, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, a huge truck, you know, but my car was, but only like sheet metal.
And that's
you
a
know?
good
sheet
sign.
metal, plastic. You know?
In that
So
situation.
I said, come on, James, we're going to take that car into the dealership where I bought the car, and they're going to fix it, and it's fully covered by insurance, and in 1 week we're going to forget about this whole thing. So even though I felt kind of uncomfortable because it was not new anymore. You know, it was a damaged car, but anyway. At that time, I was enough Americanized to kind of handle it in a different way than people would have handled that in Germany.
Yeah.
In Germany, I would have probably shot the guy. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway.
At first, you would have called the police.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
always the first step in Germany. Always call the
yeah.
police.
So we put the car into the dealership, and there was that friendly service manager, and he said, well, no problem at all. Well, when I hear that sentence, no problem at all, I know, well, it's not going to be that easy. But anyway, he said, it's going to take us about a week, and we have all the parts in stock. It's a new car, you know, and don't worry, in 1 week you can pick up the car. We're going to call you, you know. So about a week later, I got this call, and I went there to pick up the car. And I was standing there, and I was looking at the car. And I said, well, sir, is it possible that the color in the back of the car is the original color, is it a bit different than the new color that you put onto the new parts, you know? And I said, no, it's the same blue. No, it's exactly, here, look here, on the paper, specification, number, that's all the same, confirmed by whatever, General Motors. I said, well, the paperwork is one thing, but when you look at the car, and depending on how the sun is shining, it appears that it's different. And he said, no, that's always in the tolerance, you know, I mean, this is the way, that's the best you can get. And you see, I could say whatever I wanted, you know, that guy was always 10 steps ahead of me, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I gave up, and I drove the car for the next months to come.
But at least mechanically it was
Mechanically, there was nothing wrong with the car. It was just perfect, you know. But then I sold the car to a guy from Detroit. The guy was working in a, let's say, special business, okay. You know, so I don't know what he needed the car for, but he put the money cash on the table, and that's it, you know. So anyway, and for the few months to go, that I had to go, because my contract, it was actually a 3-year contract that I had. It was coming to the end, and for the last couple of months, I bought a used Ford Mercury in pretty good condition, and so I survived with that car. You know. So. Then, as I said, my contract came to the end, and for the past few months to go, I did a lot of traveling in the United States. I went up the northeast coast to the New England states. Yeah, I tell you, it's just a beautiful area, you know. I went up Michigan to the Upper Peninsula in autumn, you know, it's like the Indian summer, you know, it's just beautiful. I went to the West Coast, to San Francisco, to Los Angeles. I drove up Highway 101. It was just, I mean, United States is probably the most beautiful country that I've ever seen in my life, you know. But there are, I mean, if you want to live in the United States, you have to consider a couple of things. One is you have to be healthy, mm-hmm. and you have to have a good health insurance. The next thing is you have to have a good job. This is very, very important, you know. So if that is if you have these a good job and a good life insurance, a good health insurance, then you can make a pretty good living in the United States. You know, if you lose your job, and you have difficulties to find a new job, it's kind of difficult, it's kind of difficult. Therefore, in the United States, as it is also in Germany and other countries, to have a good education, to have good experience, this is very important, to find a good job, to make your living. And the big advantage that people in the US have is they are way more flexible than people here in Europe. In Europe, they go with a company and they want to stay there 50 years, and in the United States, you go there where you get a good job and make good money.
Yeah.
So, and then I spent a couple of weeks down in Florida. That was also very nice. And the last few weeks I spent on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, in York, Pennsylvania. I had to do a big machine installation. I met some real nice people, and I made real good friends there. So when I left the United States, and this is something that we're going to talk about next time. When I left the United States, it was almost like leaving home, because I felt, I had to leave a couple of real good friends that I made in the United States, But, the world was getting smaller. To travel by air, to travel by airplane was easier. And and I this having that feeling that you get caught in that comfort zone again. This is something that, it starts slow, but when people start to repeat, and then there is that little man in my head that says, Willie, wake up, you got to think about it. It's time to think about a new challenge, and then I start living my dream again, So, but this is something I'm going to talk to you about next time. It's going to be quite interesting, I tell you.
Yeah, it's, good. I'm excited for it.
A different country again, different people, and it's going to be funny.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, as you mentioned, the world is getting smaller, and I see that now. We are 2 episodes into this podcast, and already former colleagues of you have been reaching out to me.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. When you showed to me this list of names, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, and I still have to reply to one or the other and send them a mail, drop them a mail, because all these people, without exception, all these people that are listening to this podcast, and the names that I have read, are people that I really like to remember, good people I learned from, people that I spent valuable time with, and again, but some of these people, they actually came into the game at a later stage, but some of these people, they have changed my life. They have changed my life, and but this is something that we have in podcast number 5, 6, or 7.
At later stages.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For doing this with me. Thanks to all the people out there listening to us, and looking forward to the next one.
So do I. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from my dad. If you're interested in how his story continued, then make sure to tune in again next week for some more lessons. Also, make sure to share this podcast with your family and friends. I would love to see you again next week. Until then, have a good time.